email to do some more simpler programs in C. It seems like um, some college curriculums don't necessarily cover some of the key aspects of some of the things that should be taught in C. They tend to skip over some of this unless you take a C course. You tend to have to learn this stuff pretty quickly. So this is just to supplement what you're probably already learning. And this will give you a more solid foundation as I get into the more complicated C programming things. So if um, like and subscribe to my channel. I notice a lot of people have been watching my videos. Like them and just subscribe also. And also, I'm going to have my email in there. So send me an email and let me know what you want to watch. So this is a simple program. Basically, in C, you have integers, floats, doubles, and a character, which is like a letter. And then when you make a word, it's an array. So this one I already hard coded the user input, and it looks like okay. I didn't compile it yet. Um, Errors and stuff, and then and the output file was datatypes one. That's the executable that you to run it, and then enter a word. So when I originally wrote this really quickly, I didn't do any error checking or anything. So some enters a number. So that is this output. So the float, double. Look, the float and double looks similar um, as far as the output. Character. There's a letter A. So and I started thinking, well, ABC. What if you didn't want any numbers in the words, or you always got a check, error check. Like enter a word. And so what if no one enters anything? So is it see it kind of like so with C you have to have more of a you need to be able to you have more control over the memory. So when I push enter all those times, like right there, this in the memory cell is this. This is being inputted like when I type in like a word, um when I could push enter, this is inside the memory. This is being put in. Okay, so there's actually an extra space. So when I create a character word, also too, this only holds 20 characters. So see, so no, it's not checking for that. So it just cuts it off. Um, so there's a lot of error, a lot of this is like a program that doesn't check for anything really. So I made a little bit more complicated one, um, and you need more libraries, standard input output, the standard library. This is conversion to decimal and from string to decimals. The string library, and this is for character. C type is for character validation. So when I was bringing up I created a function in C. So it's a little bit more complicated, but this adds some of the error checking and the validation. So you know that because C once you have a little bit more control of the memory, so you have to you can't code like Python or Java. you need to be very specific on what is being input, what being output, and you need to create memory space for it in C. So so I created a function so that when they enter this, I just put a null terminator. I replace that. Okay, so this is and this is also to validate when they. So this is going to, instead of hard coding the variables like I did before, this is going to allow for user input. So this is going to check to make sure they're entering what they're supposed to. Okay, so this is a better way to code in C. You need to know what's going on. The other way is more like Python, where Python behind this, you're not really dealing with memory spaces, but when you're dealing with memory, you need to know exactly what's being put in the memory. Um, so you're not overriding memory that you don't want to write. So is this a similar each thing? I just enter an integer and then I use fgets, and then you I created an input buffer. So it's 100 characters. That's like a word. Input buffer is like a word, and it's going to put everything in there. Um, and then I have a pointer, and so what happens is so so when the user enters something into that input buffer, um, it is going to convert the input into a long integer, and then and so this is base 10. So basically, if a user, the first instance, if the user enters a letter, it's going to exit, and if it made it through the entire input of the buffer, then it's a valid integer, basically. You know what I mean? So if it comes out across like a letter or a weird character, that's what's going to be there, not a null terminator, and it's going to exit. I mean, there's different ways you can prompt the user to re-enter, but I just exit automatically. Enter a float. I do use the fgets, and then you got the input buffer and the size of the input buffer, and using from standard input, and then I call remove the new line. So when the user enters, and um, that's going to put the null terminator there, like I have up here. So again, it also the pointer. You declare the pointer, and then the pointer as converting the string to the float. If the entire as long as the entire input is a number, when it reaches it, it's going to be pointing at the null terminator at the end when it's done. Um, so if it's not, it's pointing to something else, then that means it was not the user entered like a character that wasn't a number. And the same thing with enter a double number. And this is a function that I mentioned earlier. I needed a library to string to decimal, um, and so this pointer is validating every character entered in, and there's secure character input, and I'm using the is valid. So there's this function is valid character. It's going to take a character, a pointer to a character, and so it's basically it returns true if the string length equals 1, if they entered 1, and is an alpha character. So it has to be it's an and, so it has to have that and that. So it returns true, and so if that returns true, you just put that letter in the input buffer, um, and then enter a word at max is 19 characters, and use the fgets again. Um, and then just validate the word length. If the string length of the input buffer, whatever, is greater than 0. So as long as they don't remember how I was pushing enter and there was nothing happening down here when I was doing this. This is making sure that they enter something, and then you copy it, and you're verifying the length is the 19 characters. Um, you're only copying um, what is asked. The input buffer could carry more, but I put 19 characters, and then 20 if you count the null terminator. So, and then I ensure the null terminator right there. So, so I print everything out. So let's and see. You got to compile it to machine code. So enter integer. If I enter like an A, it's going to exit on input. So enter a float. This is not going to matter unless I letter. If I enter a letter, it's going to exit. Um, so I can just enter that. It still accepts an integer. I can accept a double, a single letter. It's going like this. See, it's just validating the single letter. For a max word. Let's see. So and the results. So that's it. That's a simple program and a simple introduction to error checking and validating the user input, and C in a little introduction to the sum of the data types.